My name is Jessica Tillotman, and I am the Assistant Dean for Government Procurement Law Studies at GW Law School. Today, we are hosting a virtual open house for people that are interested in learning more about our government procurement law degrees for both attorneys and non-attorneys. I am delighted to be joined by numerous people that will be assisting me in this open house. From our faculty and staff side, Andrew is joining us from our admissions office. He will be manning the chat for anybody that has specific questions about the admissions process. Professor Victoria Christoph, who is not only a professor, but our government procurement law fellow, will be also joining us in the chat to provide links to numerous resources for today's program to assist you. At any point during today's presentation, if you have a question, you can pop it into the chat or you can raise your hand. We will take a kind of questions off mic. So if you want to come on, because it's on mic, if you want to actually say it instead of typing it, we're going to take those questions at the end. But following my brief PowerPoint presentation that provides an overview of our degree programs, we will hear from current students and alumni, Liz, Corey, Zach, and Genoveva, who will talk about why they came to GW Law School and their experience as well. And they're also very happy to answer your questions. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And again, feel free to ask questions. This is your time to ask questions about our program. So as I said before, we're going to go ahead and hear from speakers, but in the interim, we're going to go through a variety of features of our program. So we have 4 government procurement degree programs at GW Law School. One that is not on here is our concentration for JD candidates. These are students obtaining their law degree who will concentrate in government procurement. But for our graduate students, these are students that are getting master's degrees. We have 2 LLM degrees and 2 MSL degrees. Our LLM degrees are for existing attorneys, people that have already completed law school and have a degree from a law school. And we have one in government procurement law and one in government procurement and environmental law. The other 2 are for non-attorney, often acquisition professionals, but you do not have to have acquisition experience to participate. But our MSL program for government procurement and cybersecurity. So you may be thinking, why GW Law and why you would want to come here. There's a variety of reasons. First, we created the academic study, literally created it in 1960. It did not exist as a degree focus and subject matter specialty in any law school prior to 1960, when the founders of our program, Ralph Nash and John Sabinick, created it. Now, there's a fun history on our website Beyond the Far. If you are a brief history buff, I wouldn't even call it historical research, but there's a summary of our program if you're interested. But many of you who currently practice in this area may be familiar with the books that all say Nash and Sabinick on them, and that would be from the founders of our program. We are and consider ourselves if not one of the leading programs in the world when it comes to procurement law degrees. Part of that is because of our long history. Part of that is because of our location. Another big part is our extremely large and diverse curriculum, which covers a wide variety of government procurement law related topics. And our faculty. We have the leading experts in the field teaching our classes. And then finally, one of the greatest things, and I call it the intangible awesome thing about GW Law School, and particularly the government procurement law program, is our incredible community. Because of our status within the community as the leading government procurement law program, we have a huge alumni base and a huge base of supporters of the law school who routinely provide support and assistance and guidance to our students, both from an academic standpoint, assisting students as they write papers and complete their degrees, but also following graduation through hiring and through other alumni activities. We have many events where you can network and meet other individuals, but you will find that not only the people that have graduated and support the program are there to assist you, but also you'll find that your classmates are those people as well. And I know I've heard comments from many of the people that are in the program about their relationships with their classmates and how they've created lifelong friendships and business relationships. We have a student-focused curriculum. So the curriculum is quite flexible. We offer our courses online, on campus, and hybrids, meaning if you are in the DC area, you can do both online and hybrid, or online and on campus. You don't have to choose. And the nice thing about that is it's all the same price. Our online classes are just as substantive and meaningful and academically sophisticated as our on-campus classes. So there really is, we try to make sure that there's no distinction between the two. So many students that live in DC will take them a mixture of both online and on campus. If you don't live near DC, you are welcome to take all the classes online, and we can complete the entire curriculum online. We have a lot of individualized course advising for students that need assistance determining what classes that they want to take. So you have that access through not only the faculty of the program, but also through our academic support team. What you'll find, not only do we have classes where you'll learn the basics, but we have numerous experiential classes designed to make you what we refer to as practice ready. So they will have, for example, if you're in the bid protest class, you will work on documents and exercises to teach you how to go through the bid protest process. The same for our claims class. Many of the classes will have similar experiential components designed to really show you what people do in this area. We've talked about our faculty, but we also have really low student to faculty ratio. We try to make sure that everybody has individualized attention. This is not a situation where we stick you in an online class and you only watch recordings and you never hear from someone. We have one asynchronous class designed to assist you, but all of our other classes, particularly the online ones, have both asynchronous and synchronous components, so that you are getting live instruction online, even if though it's an online, it's not one of those things where you pay to see videos and then you take a quiz. You are truly getting the full experience interacting with our faculty as well. I've already talked about the relationship building opportunities. One of the things that we like to brag about is we have the largest government procurement library collection in the world, and our librarian, who's incredible, will often say, if you can't find a resource, she'll get it and add it to her collection. So it's an incredible resource for you if you're doing research, not only as a student, but you will continue to retain that access as an alum, which will be helpful to most people as they practice. And finally, I'm sure that several of our students will talk to you today about their opportunities for publication. At least 2, maybe 3 have aggressively published their papers, aggressively in a good way, their papers from their classes and are now published authors. And we encourage that, and we consider that to be a feature of our program. You may be thinking, well, which one is the right program for me? If you are an individual that has a law degree, you will enroll in our LLM program, which is the program we've had in place since 1960. And that's the program that many of our prospective LLMs are most familiar with. Our newer program is our MSL for non-attorney, typically folks that are in the acquisition space or want to enter the acquisition space. There's no requirement to have a law degree. Both degrees are 24 credits, can be part-time or full-time, and can be offered online, on campus, or a mixture of the two. So both of them have many of the same features. The difference is that one requires you to have a law degree and the other one does not. So if you're an individual without a law degree, no worries. We have a degree program or 2 degree programs for you. As I said before, our curriculum is quite diverse. You'll notice that we have roughly 20 courses offered per year, and that continues to grow every year. Many of our classes are offered both online or in person or exclusively online. We have 1 or 2 classes remaining that are just still in person only. Hopefully that changes over the next year or so. But nevertheless, you will still have many, many options if you are online only from the curriculum. The vast majority is available to you both online or on campus if you wish to continue to take classes on campus. We, as of today, have released our schedule of government procurement courses for 2023-24. So this is starting with fall of 2023. Professor Christoph is providing a link to the page that now has the full schedule for both the fall and spring, so you can see our offerings. As you will note, anything in red is an online course. And you will note that the vast majority of our courses are offered in the evening because we understand that most students that come to our school are typically evening students. If you prefer in afternoons, don't worry, we still have afternoon offerings. But again, because we anticipate that most students that are working full-time, most of our classes are in the evening at various times, and you can see that here. And you can, of course, access that. If you are an MSL candidate, this is for our non-attorneys seeking a master's degree, you may be eligible for transfer credits up to 6 from DAU. Now, we are aware that they are changing their certification process and how they handle their course processes, and we're still waiting further guidance on how their new course offerings will be evaluated for academic credit purposes, but we are grandfathering in pre-existing classes to a certain extent, as long as they're not too old. And we have guidance on our website that will demonstrate whether or not you are eligible for it. We ask you to complete a file. And what this simply means is that you can have up to 6 advanced credits placed on your transcript coming in. It doesn't replace your required courses, but it would mean that you have up to 6 fewer credits that you need to complete to get our 24 credit degree. So you could have, you could start off with only needing 18 credits. That depends on whether your employer allows this. Some employer-sponsored degrees do not allow transfer credits, but many, and in fact, most do. So if this is you and you've taken DAU courses and you're an MSL, take a look. I've also been asked sometimes if LLMs can get DAU transfer credits. As of now, we do not have an MAU for that program, but I've encouraged students to petition the school if they want that consideration. All right, if you want updates, you want to be invited to our events, you want to learn what's going on in our program, we always encourage you to subscribe to our blog or any of our social media channels. We regularly update them. We try to provide content 2 to 5 times a week. And so you will see updates and learn about our students and alumni. I am going to stop right there, even though I have questions here. I'm going to now turn it over to my incredible speakers who can share a little bit about their experience at GW, and then we're going to open it up to your questions. So I think we should go ahead and start with our current students. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Zach first. Zach is a student in our government procurement LLM degree program. I'm actually going to stop sharing here so that we can all see the meeting. Hopefully everybody can see. And Zach, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, thank you. Yes, as Dean Tillotman mentioned, I'm actually a part-time LLM student in the government procurement law program. I'm an attorney at the law firm Seiferth Shaw in their Washington, D.C. office in the government contracts practice group. I started 2 fall semesters ago. I started the LLM program. At the time, I was a civilian trial attorney working for the Army in government contracts litigation. And like most people in the field, I kind of learned on the job what I knew about government contracts. I graduated from law school back in 2013 and hadn't taken a single course dealing with anything with the federal government. So what I wanted to do at that point in my career was kind of broaden my knowledge of everything there is to know about government procurement, and why not do it right here in DC with this institution that's, has probably the best reputation that I've come across professionally for law schools preparing people in this field. I didn't go to law school in DC, and so in terms of GW building a community, it's a great way for you to get plugged into an amazing network of professionals here in the local community. It helps you tremendously. And I think I'm a success story, because at the time I was looking to make a lateral transition from government into the private practice, and I couldn't have done it nearly as smoothly or as efficiently as I was able to, thanks in part to GW. And so I want to also emphasize the hybrid option for people that work. It's incredibly helpful. It allows you to go at your own pace. And frankly, I have met many more professionals, both government contracts managers at corporations, as well as contracting officers and attorneys from the government and the private sector through the online portion, because like me, they have day jobs, and that's kind of the only time that they can squeeze in an opportunity to learn. So it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to build your network. And if you're looking for a career transition, it's a great way to start. But of course, most importantly, it's going to give you a foundational knowledge in government contracts to this day still serves me very well in my professional life.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate that. Next, we're going to turn it over to another current student, Genoveva, who can talk about her experience as an international government procurement LLM candidate.
Thank you, Dean Tillman, for inviting me here. Hello, everyone. I'm from Argentina, Latin America. I have like a lot of arguments why yes this program and why yes GW. First, like I'm an international student, the city, Washington is amazing. It's where the government set and the major international organizations are located. For the friendlies of the city is very friendly. I was there with my 2 little kids and was amazing for them too. For the university and their professors, they are the best in the field and they are very good persons, and you are going to feel very well with them. Because doing this program, I can share with people of all the world. I have my 2 best friends, Sandra is from Colombia and Irakli is from Georgia, and they are going to be my friend for all my life. That's like very hard, and I want to share this experience. Because no matter the age you have, I have 39 years old and I want to do my degree now, and I do it, and like I feel very well there. And well, I'm currently the head of the agency of government procurement of the judiciary power in my country, and I'm a member of the council who choose judges. And this experience, this LLM, helped me in my work a lot. Now we are introducing in the legislation of my country, in the Congress, a project to reform the city law with the best practice that I can have there in the United States. We are doing a project, modify the law in the Congress with the preference for a person with disability, preference for persons, for different kinds of persons who have some preference here in my country. We are present that project next week. And I learned that in this program. Like, it's very important. And in addition, like with Professor Christoph, that is there, and with Professor Jukins, that is the best professor in comparative procurement around the world, I saw, and with the support of Deep Tillman, we are going to do an international congress with 10 persons that practice this around the world. Well, that's all because of this program. That's why I'm a fan like of this program. That's why I invite you to join this university, join this program, because it's amazing. Thank you. Sorry because of my Latin America accent, but well, I'm here. Thank you, Dean Tillman.
It was perfect. Thank you, Genoveva. That's wonderful. And thank you for all the kind things that you've said about the program and our colleagues. I'm now going to turn it over to two of our alumni of our MSL degree programs. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Corey, who recently received her degree in for MSL in government procurement law. And she could talk about her experience and her current position.
Thank you. Yes, I did. I graduated in May of 2022. So it's so hard to believe that it's almost coming up on a year. But I share Genueva's excitement and accolades for the program. You will be immersed with practicing attorneys within the program, private industry members who, if you're not, in that world, in that space, you don't always have the opportunity to do that. So I work for the Army. I've worked for the Army for now 13 years. I started off in contracting, so I've been in 1102 job series since I began working for the Army. And I got to the point where, I wanted to challenge myself. I currently already have an MBA degree, and I had contemplated, is what's different about this? Is it worthwhile? And it absolutely was. It is completely different from an MBA. So for anybody who has an MBA or any other master's degree, don't think that this won't assist and be completely different, because it was. I did publish several articles as a result of this program. I know that GW strives to have their students published. And when I heard that, I thought it was so daunting and impossible. It was just an intimidating thought, but the program itself just really highlights and helps you think more critically and write better. It really just improves your, your persuasive writing, and publishing was, I don't want to say that it was easy, but because of the skills and the information that GW had imparted on me, it was really easy to do. So it's not an impossible feat for anybody, and I highly encourage you to strive for that as well. So I currently am working as a contracting advisor for the Army still, for a small subset, working on the Army's modernization programs. And this program has really allowed me to think more critically, to be more persuasive. And another very important feature of the program is that it forces you to think about problem sets from a different vantage point. So growing up in the Army, with the Army mindset, I very infrequently looked at disputes in contracting from any other lens but the government's lens. And what I most appreciated about this program is that you're given mock scenarios through probably all of your classes in mock problem sets, and you have to wear a role that, a hat that you're not familiar with. So, I often had to play the role of a contractor, which was challenging but so enlightening. And I think that having done that, I can now approach issues within my current role within the government with a different mindset. So I highly encourage the program. I loved every single part of it. Your professional network will be so diversified, and it will just grow exponentially, and you will develop lifelong friendships with these people, even remote. So I was part-time, 100% remote. I live in Michigan. And even still, I developed great, meaningful friendships with all of my classmates. So highly encourage it.
Thanks, Corey. And I did not have a link to your public contract law journal article that you just published. Congratulations. But I did link to your publication for the Army magazine about your experience in the program. I encourage anybody who wants to have a more in-depth discussion about what the program's like. It's a great article. So thanks, Corey. And now we're going to be joined by Liz, who is a recent alum, as of January, in our government procurement and cybersecurity MSL program, degree program. She is will have audio but no video because of the security restrictions for her employer. So we will all listen intensely to Liz's presentation. Liz, take it away.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, apologies about the video. Yeah, so my name is Liz Chirico. As Dean Tiltman mentioned, very recent alumni, super excited to have graduated. That was just in January of 2023, and I was in the MSL Government Procurement and Cybersecurity Law program. I absolutely love the program. I thought it was so interesting. I learned so much, and I would just like to, yeah, pile on to basically what everybody else is saying, but you build an amazing professional network. You are learning from professors who are experts in their field, like leading experts in their field, literally working on in real time in their day jobs, the problems that we talk about in class. So I was able to take a reading group on blockchain, which obviously is super, all the buzzwords you can imagine. One of the last courses I took was on artificial intelligence, law and policy, which was phenomenal. Everything we're hearing about Chat GPT right now and GPT-4 now, we really dove into depth on that in that class and had excellent conversations, really fascinating, an area of law that is continuing to evolve for sure. I built an amazing network, and my role, so similar to what Corey was describing, I work for the Army, also in government procurement, but right now I sit at the office of the DASIP, the Acquisition Innovation Through Technology team lead. So I sort of have a unique role where I have a government contracting background, also an 1102 and procurement analyst, but in this role for the last 3 years have been focusing on technology and where technology can streamline and government procurement processes, business processes, increase compliance, help out our contracting workforce to issue, better contracts and give them back more time, just because there's so many laws and policies and regulations to keep track of, and so many business processes to go through, and the federal acquisition regulation to be in compliance with. And how can we kind of reduce some of that burden and help our workforce out, and also in turn help industry as well. And so I felt like the MSL program was a really great combination between the government procurement law piece, but also cybersecurity. And I didn't have any background in cybersecurity going in besides, learning on the fly, reading lots of articles going into this program. And I just learned a ton, and I loved it. I mean, I actually was like, wow, this is so cool. I'm so interested in this. I also wrote an article, was able to publish it, which was great. I was taking this program as part-time, and I would just encourage anyone. I actually live in the Washington, D.C. area, so I was able to take a few classes in person, but most of my program took place over the, starting in 2020, so through COVID and the pandemic. So a lot of the courses were online that maybe would have even been in person. But even still, I got to meet a lot of awesome people and built a great network. And yeah, I'm happy to answer like any questions anybody has, but I really appreciated that. The thing that really attracted me to the MSL with cybersecurity was my unique role in my current position. And I have to say, like, I thought it was incredible. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. And the cybersecurity degree program is our newest degree program at the Law School, the Government Procurement and Cybersecurity degree program, which is given the demand for expertise in both of these areas. It's really a merger of these two topics, and it's really been a great boost to our program and to our students that want experience in this area, because you have the leading experts from both fields joining to teach these courses. The one where we do not have a representative is our government procurement and environmental LLM. This is for individuals with existing law degrees who want to specialize in government procurement and environmental law. So it ranges from everything like traditional environmental law, but it's also increasingly a focus on sustainability, as that increasingly becomes important in procurement processes around the world. So we're happy to talk and put you in touch with Dean Abate, who is the dean of that program. If you have specific environmental questions, if that's the degree program that interests you the most. But again, four options are general procurement LLM, our general government procurement master's degrees, and then we have the kind of interdisciplinary dual degrees in environmental and cybersecurity. So with that, I am grateful for the students and alumni that have joined us. So thank you for that. This is where we want to open it up to you. Use this time to ask any questions you may have about the admissions process, or anything related to our curriculum. Truly take this time. It's set up as a meeting format on purpose, so that you should feel free to either raise your hand and we can talk live and come on the mic, or you could just pop it into the chat if you're more comfortable doing that. We did receive a question from Justine, who talks about basically kind of pacing and how long it typically takes to complete the degree, if necessary. So let me just say, we cannot stress enough how flexible our programs are. Generally, if you are a full-time student, and so Genevieve, you're a full-time student, so you're going to be maxing out at around 12 credits per semester, and you're going to complete that degree program in a year. Most of our full-time students are not working full as well, though Genevieve is a superhero, because she does all of that and more. And so she is completing it that, and many of our, so we have a handful of graduate students, I'd say the minority, that take it full-time. The vast majority take our program part-time because they're working full-time. And so that is what we often say in our books, roughly 2 to 3 years. That said, we certainly have students that have gone on longer than the 2 to 3 year period that have taken 4 years or more. Obviously, by the time they're past the 4-year mark, they're kind of tired and want to wrap up the degree. And so we try to work with you to help you get across the finish line if you need some assistance. But just know that we appreciate in this program that you have lives outside of your school and that your lives don't act predictably. So some semesters may be busier for you because of work obligations. Maybe you're getting married one semester. Maybe you've just had a child. Whatever the life occurrence may be, we see students typically do this, where many will often start low on the low end, 1 to 2 classes, typically 2 classes, to just kind of see how that works for them. You know, how can they balance school and work? And I actually encourage you starting slow and then ramping up if you feel like you can handle more. The last thing we want is for you to be overwhelmed and feel like you have to withdraw from a class or have a setback. So we really do try to set you up for success and help you develop a schedule that really can meet your needs. And I noticed, for example, some of our MSL students will take fewer credits as the end of the fiscal year nears, because things can get much busier for them at work. And again, we've had students that can take much lower. We also have summer classes too. So we have year-round classes. So you have the ability to pick up extra credits. We have some flexibility with independent writing projects that you can do that have a little bit more flexibility than other classes. And both, I think Corey and Liz did an independent project with me to help pick up some additional credits in a more flexible way. So we really do work with you to make sure your schedule meets your particular needs. And when I say that we're available for advising, it's because we are. Even though we're a large program in the law school, we still retain that individualized process. And if you want individual counseling, it's available. If you don't ever want to have an individual counseling meeting, you don't have to. We give you enough information online and we empower you to make those decisions on your own, but there's always resources available to you. Between that, I want to just ask, maybe let's start with Zach. Can you describe what's it like trying to balance classes and work? Maybe you can touch on that briefly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot like you described. My first semester was a breeze because I only took 2 classes and I had a slow couple months at work, or slower. I mean, I was very busy, but in the world of law, a slow couple months. And so I thought I could handle it. And so I ramped up in the spring semester. Well, I went through a job transition. I lost a parent and I moved. So it became extremely overwhelming. And then I scaled back. And the beauty of the program is you have the ability to do that. It's really customizable. I guess I would just caveat that, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the financial aid office, but if you are interested in using student loans, there are certain credit requirements of how many you need to enroll in. But if you're paying out of pocket, you can take 1 credit, you can take 2 credits, or you can take like 10 credits. I mean, it's really up to what you can balance and what you can budget. And the professors are extremely flexible. I know that I had to miss a lot of classes. I had, despite the beard, I did have Army Reserve duty, for example. And I had to miss like 3 weeks of classes, and everybody was able to work with me, and we were able to figure something out that worked so I could still get credit. And we were able to reschedule exams for me when I wasn't able to take certain exams. So there are things that you can do as long as you're willing to, as long as you're putting in the effort and you're actually taking advantage of the program. They will work with you to accommodate you to the best that they can. And it's incredibly flexible. And so if you can juggle, you know, if you can juggle working in law or working in a procurement related field and taking 1 class, you're a hero. Some people can do more. It's just really up to you, and the school support you.
I know I saw a question that somebody had their hand raised briefly. And I don't know if you want to come off mic. Saeed, did you have it? Or did I hallucinate it? Maybe I did. Okay, maybe not. I would maybe to see if maybe Corey, you could touch briefly on how you've been balancing everything.
Yeah, similar to Zach. You know, I think it's what you make of it. So I won't hide the fact that I spent many nights up past midnight working on papers and assignments, but that's just the nature of who I am. And so I truly did give it my all. I juggled anywhere between, I think, 2 and 3 classes. The majority were 3 classes. So on a part-time, I finished in a year and a semester. So I did do fall, I guess spring, summer, and then another fall. I don't know if I got my seasons right, but you know, did a year in a semester and was working full time. So everything was in the evening. 6 p.m. I think was the typical start, and some classes went until 9. So some semesters I did 2 classes back to back online. So you hang up on one Zoom call, you join another, but it was all very doable. I mean, I think it all depends on how much initiative and drive you have. You know, that largely determines how many you can juggle and how successful you'll be. I mean, you're in charge of your own destiny here. So to the extent you put in is what you'll get out. So, you know, I found it to be manageable. I also, though, was not a contracting officer. So for those who are in the government and are contracting officers, you know, my peers struggled a little bit during fiscal year end, right? So, you know, their credit hours looked largely different than mine. And that would be a huge undertaking because, you know, work likely comes first. Especially in my case, I did was selected with Liz and several others as part of the DASAP pilot program. So I was very, very blessed that the Department of Army paid for my degree program. And, you know, so I was even more determined, I guess, to juggle it and juggle it well. But, you know, it's manageable. I didn't want to rush through it, but I also didn't want to be there longer than I needed to be because I knew that I would be burnt out after some point. So, you know, 2 to 3 classes was my pace. And again, up past midnight, several nights writing papers. And for those 2 that are used to maybe taking final exams in your undergrad or other degree programs that are like multiple choice, true and false, most of the final exams within the programs, you write papers. So they could be short essays, several short essays, a long paper. So, you know, just bear that in mind if that's, you know, unfamiliar territory to you too.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate that. let me jump into some questions. And then also I would just say if Genoveva and Liz have some additional stuff, I'll come back to you. We received a question and now I'm looking from Sean, who asked about whether there'd be kind of a recommendation to complete the JD program and then the LLM degree program if you don't have prior law experience. I wouldn't recommend that route because one is I find if you don't have a law degree, I think you'll get as much, unless you truly desire to practice law, like your goal is to be a practicing attorney, to represent clients, to, litigate, those sorts of things. If your goal is to have, the benefit of a GW law procurement degree, the MSL degree will provide that for you because of our name and reputation in the field. So, if that's what you're looking for is for, to either, be promoted within your own organization or have greater job opportunities with an external organization. Sometimes, and I will just say as a side note, we've had students recruit each other for each other's employers, which has happened more than once, given how many of our students are working. But if that is your goal, I think the MSL degree is probably the right choice. If, however, you truly want to practice law, then there's no need for you to get the LLM degree because our law school offers a concentration in government procurement law for JD candidates where they take 12 credits that specialize in government procurement law. It won't be as many credits as the graduate students taking 24, but it's certainly enough that it will give you a significant advantage in employment opportunities as a graduating law student. That said, our JD admissions process is quite different than our graduate admissions process. I would encourage you to reach out to our JD admissions office. And if that is something that's consideration, but it's a very different animal than graduate admissions. JD admissions is just a completely different thing. So if that's what you're interested in is, we can put you in touch with our JD admissions team. But again, think about what your ultimate goal is. Is it for a general employment advantage in government procurement? I would recommend the MSL degree then. If it's because you're going to get far more experience. But if you truly want to practice law, then the JD would probably be the way to go. We were asked what are the start dates, and I think Andrew may have put them in the chat, but end of August is going to be the start of our fall semester. Our spring semester starts in January, and then our summer session, which is abbreviated, it's 6 to 7 weeks, is going to be starting in the end of May. Let's see right here. I think Andrew may have done that. Have you done the application deadline?
I did not talk about, I did answer about the application deadline, which the short answer is June 1st.
Okay.
We got another question about application requirements, which I could talk about for a moment.
Yeah, that'd be great, Andrew.
So for both, all the degree programs discussed, MSL and LLM, it's generally the same application process and requirements. We have an application that needs to be completed. We ask for a resume, a personal statement, which is 1 to 2 pages about why you want to do this program. 2 letters of recommendation, which can either be from law professors or work colleagues. If you're a recent graduate, we'd like at least 1 recommendation letter from a professor. For those whose education was not in English, we require an English proficiency score. An application fee, which you can ask to be waived for attending this webinar. Just send me an email about that, and we can give you a fee waiver. Now, the method of delivery of the application, we prefer to receive applications from the Law School Admission Council, which is lsac.org. However, we do accept applications sent to us directly through the mail. We know that people interested in government procurement law are often only applying to one school. And so LSAC may be an unnecessary burden for you. So we do accept applications sent directly to us.
Thanks, Andrew. And if you have more questions about the application process, now's the time, although we're always available afterwards as well. We did receive a question about veteran priority. First, let me just say GW University is a yellow ribbon school. for purposes of benefits. I will also note that, as Zach already mentioned, the school is abundantly accommodating. If you have obligations, if you're, current military service, it's a big component. We have a big national security military law program in the school. Indeed, that's where half of the cybersecurity and government procurement degree comes from. And it's a big part of what we do at GW. So there is not a priority registration for veterans. But look, we try to offer as many sections as necessary to accommodate the size of our classes. On rare occasion, there can be a bump, but that is very, very rare. And it's typically the first time a class is offered. So for example, last summer, we launched an other transactions class because there's interest in OTAs. And it was so popular, we could not accommodate all the students for the first time offering it. But because we know it's so popular, we've added a second section this year. So we'll be teaching it both during the fall or August semester and the summer or May semester so 2 sessions a year, and that should be enough to accommodate the demand. The other time we had it is once we started offering our intellectual property / data rights class online, there was a little of a buildup of students waiting for it to come in online. But that worked itself out after the first semester. And now we have that class offered twice a year as well. So once we start to see greater demand for a class, we increase the sections. We're also increasingly changing course offerings. And let me take a moment to just describe some of the unique ways we try to get there with students and accommodate work issues. So one is we have obviously the online programs typically in the evening. We try to make things manageable and digestible. So for example, a lot of the lecture material in the online classes will be viewed throughout the week at your convenience. And then we meet weekly with your professor to discuss the material. So that is designed with flexibility. Another thing we're experimenting with that's actually been quite successful in our program are what we refer to as weekend short courses, where we understand that there are a number of students that want the experience of being on campus and meeting their classmates in person, but don't have the ability to attend classes weekly in DC. So for example, in the summer, in May, during a weekend in May, we offer although it might be in June this coming summer, we offer a short course in Introduction to Fiscal Law or Appropriations Law. And it's over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you knock out a credit that way. And the teacher, Professor Green, is incredible and very popular with the students. We also have a suspension and debarment course where 6 weeks are online, but then the students come together over President's Day weekend for an in-person experiential component so that everybody can meet each other. And we had a ton of students come to DC this past President's Day weekend to meet each other. They went to dinner. They had, there was really a nice weekend atmosphere associated with it so that everyone could get to know each other. That typically haven't met each other in person. And then in this coming fall, we'll be offering a 1 credit short course, weekend course. I believe it's over Columbus Day weekend in October on the changes to the model procurement code for state procurement. I know we have some people that do state and local procurement that are interested in our program. So in addition to our typical course offerings, we'll be offering a special weekend in-person course there. So that's another way we're experimenting with getting everybody together and breaking it up into digestible, flexible formats. I will note that David asked about whether if you're going to get the degree in government procurement and cybersecurity, if you can kind of tilt one way or the other in your studies. You have your foundational requirements, as Professor Christoph noted in the comments, but we do offer flexibility, and that goes for all our degree students. You get what are referred to as wildcard classes, where you can take classes from other parts of the law school. If they're offered online, we have environmental classes and national security classes online, in addition to government procurement. But if you're on campus, you could do an on-campus class in any other subject area. So that sometimes people like to do that. We also allow students to take classes from other parts of our university. So we, as you imagine, GW is massive. So we have, public policy schools, we have business schools, we have all these other schools where there are classes available to you as well. If you want to do up to 6 of your credits from another part of the school, so long as it relates to your degree, which is typically not hard. And Liz, I don't know if you want to take a second to talk about your cyber degree. And if I recall correctly, your most of your research was still procurement cyber. Is that true? Or in artificial intelligence and procurement, is that right?
The artificial intelligence law and policy course was not focused on procurement specifically.
Okay.
But it was super relevant. I mean, I could definitely cross-reference, like, yeah, issues that are coming up in the procurement world. Anything that involves data, right, is so important concerning machine learning, artificial intelligence, technologies that are being used. For instance, like I said, chat GPT, generative, I can't say that, AI, generating papers, generating briefs, things like that, and all of the law and policy associated with that. And I can just do a shout out for one of the weekend courses. One of the foundational technology courses was great. That was over, I think, like 2 weekends, and it was super immersive and a lot of content, but I learned a ton and I loved it. And I think it gives you a really good foundation for understanding how a lot of technology works, like a deeper dive into all the things that we kind of hear about all the time, like Wi-Fi and cloud computing and what machine learning really is and how it's running, and just a layer more in depth of a lot of these words and terms that you might hear about and know a little bit about, but not enough to really understand how law works in conjunction with those technologies. And I think that's so important. And I think honestly, it's really easy to apply to government procurement because everything, in today's day and age, like everything is involved in technology. You can't get away from it. So I think there's a lot of implications there, but yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
And I'll also point out, thank you, Liz. I'll also point out that Liz, for one of her independent study credits, helped develop a 3-part series for the law school, webinar series on intelligent automation that she worked with me on. And it was an excellent series with hundreds and hundreds of practitioners attending. And it was a really nice component to this kind of emerging area of the law, and was eligible for academic credit. The one thing I also want to point out is somebody that has a JD, this is Lucas, asked, are there limitations if you aren't sure yet if you want to take, jump in with the degree, could you start, slow? As Andrew mentioned in the comment, we do allow up to 6 credits on a non-degree basis. That said, and of course that transfers in. So let's say you ultimately decide to pursue the degree, you can transfer those credits into the full degree, and that gets credited towards your 24 credits. That said, they need to be the foundational courses unless you can demonstrate that you already have existing legal experience, because many of our upper level courses require you to have completed at least our formation course or our performance, which are our 2 core foundational courses, before you can jump to the upper level. An MSL would have to be limited to formation and performance, having not taken a law class before, and nor would you want to do that. You would have a real hard time in an upper level class without taking the foundational. But as an L, we certainly have had people in the field who have wanted to start with maybe the formations class and then ultimately decide to transfer in or not. But it's an option, and you would just touch base with our LLM admissions office for more information. So let me actually, while we have a few minutes left, please, again, feel free to ask more questions. Let me answer Joseph, and then I want to turn to Genoveva for one more question. Is the MSL government procurement equally flexible in selecting courses? So again, with the degree requirements, off the top of my head, Professor Christoph may not know how many wildcards you have with the cyber. Once you get into the specialized degrees, you have a bit less flexibility than you do in the general government procurement degrees, because you've got a certain number of courses you have to take from each curriculum. There is still some flexibility there. And you could take something from another practice area, but again, it's going to just be like a lot tighter. And that same goes for students that are international students will have a slightly less flexibility because there are some foundational US law classes that you'll need to take. And similarly, if you want to take the New York bar, if you are a international student, you're even more restricted because the New York bar requirements are so strict. But that said, there are a lot of opportunities, particularly with our international students, to get kind of experiential opportunity. A lot of our students intern at the World Bank, among other locations while they're here. Same with any students in our LLM and MSL programs can take advantage of what we call kind of our graduate experiential courses or graduate government contracts placement course, where you can get credit for an externship with an organization towards your degree. So if that's something you're interested in doing, we highly recommend it. Genoveva is walking. And so I was going to ask her to talk about her experience, but it may be not a good time to ask, right? Okay. So
because I don't want you to hear around my office. I'm here now in silence.
I wasn't sure if you're like mid meeting point, but I don't know if you just want in the few minutes remaining, just you want to touch briefly on, as an international student, what that experience is like at getting an LLM degree from GW.
Oh, like you feel like very proud to have a degree of DW. It's like in my country, it's very important to have this kind of degree in my work, in my like development. Well, for me, it was experience like incredible. And then you talk about fifth placement and like that kind of thing. I do this semester like a fifth placement in the American organizations, like in my country, OEA, in your country, OAS, like was very good experience. And for me, it was incredible too. That's why to me to have a degree of DW is like, I'm very proud of this. Yes.
Yeah, the Organization for American States, I think was a wonderful externship. We've had people at the Inter-American Development Bank. And we've also worked and been able to pair students, international students with the Commerce Department on independent projects. And so there's a lot of opportunity, and particularly also for students that are US citizens, that opens up the whole government, judicial placements. And we're also willing to, and always not even willing, happy to think creatively with students that have ideas for independent study projects and things that really can help them with their focus. We are down to our last minute. So with that, I want to take another minute to thank Professor Christoph and Andrew from GW for joining us and really keeping the chat moving and assisting with data and information. I really want to thank Zach, Genoveva, Corey, and Liz for taking time of their exceedingly busy schedules to join us today and talk about their experience. If you were unable, or somebody who was unable to attend, I will be circulating a PDF of the slides along with a link to the recording, which will be on both the event page and our YouTube channel following this event. As we said in the advertisements, if you decide to apply this year, just make sure you let the admissions office know that you are eligible for the application fee waiver for attending today's session. As I'm leaving, I see that we received one question about GW's English program, which Andrew has already gotten to. See, so quick. Thank you, Andrew. So with that, thank you again to everyone for joining us today, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Good to see you.
Victoria. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.